a big part of agentic workflows has actually been about how do we stick the right guardrails around the execution of this so that you can have confidence that it's going to do what you ask without doing any of the things that you don't want it to do.
I've been playing a little bit about for maintenance for my own repositories, but I can't wait to see you, first of all, explain to us what agentic workflows are, and then show us some of the practical ways users can start using them today.
Agentic workflows is really thinking about like, how can we push the boundaries of what is automatable as part of like my repository. I'd like to create an automation that detects when my docs and my code have diverged, or I want an automation that helps me to make sure that my code meets accessibility standards or do performance optimizations. There's a lot of different things that we can do with it, and we don't even know what all those things are yet. This is the GitHub Agentic Workflows website. We'll drop a link to it in the show notes, but this is public, and you can show up to this website and check out all the different agentic workflows that we've authored. But I actually went and used it for a specific agentic workflow. I have my blog, or not blog, whatever. It's like, here's my personal site, and it's fine. It's a personal website, but it runs on Astro, which is like a web framework for creating, static sites, very popular. So I used agentic workflows to basically make like a super Dependabot. Oh. Once in a while, I need to upgrade Astro, the framework itself. But upgrading the framework is not just like, okay, bump the version numbers in my package.json. Very frequently, there's like migrations or things that I need to do on top of it. And that's the kind of thing that maybe Dependabot can't do for me because it requires, again, intelligence and judgment. Here, I can create a workflow as easily as going to the agents tab of my repo. And then there's this important line here, like, create a workflow for agentic workflows using, and here's basically a skill that we publish about how to create workflows. So you're using AI to create AI. And then I describe in a lot the same way that I would describe to a teammate, like, listen, every day, check if there's a new release from Astro for any of my dependencies. And if yes, look at the change log, look at the upgrading docs, come up with a plan to do the migration, including dealing with any breaking changes, and then create a PR with all the changes related to the upgrade. Copilot picks this up, and actually, if we look at this thing, you can see like, we're starting with the prompt, Copilot reads it, it follows all the instructions, blah, 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 blah. At the end, it produces a pull request with this workflow. In agentic workflows, the actual workflow description is just Markdown. It's just English with this front matter block up front. And this is where we put guardrails on the agents, because you don't want to set agents free to do stuff without sticking some guardrails on them. What's the purpose here? It's an upgrade checker. It looked at my code. It figured out what my actual dependencies are. And so every time it runs, it needs to check those things on NPM and then review the change log, review the upgrade guide, figure out what to bump, and then make the necessary changes. And then when it's done, create a pull request. Here's an example of a run, right? I actually ran this on my personal site, and I didn't ask it to like produce this table or this like, highlights of the changelog, but this is the kind of thing where if I tasked a human with doing this, they would have understood like, hey, this would be a nice experience for me as the consumer of this agentic workflow. In this run, I'm upgrading from this version to this version and that version to that version. If it had not found anything, then it would have also just said like, oh, there's nothing for me to do here, therefore no operation.
I've been getting a couple of Dependabot alerts on my own open source projects where Dependabot can't really raise a PR because there are breaking changes, or the percentage, like the confidence that it will be compatible is like so low that it's like, yeah, like there is no PR to be raised. I wonder how agentic workflows can help in that kind of situation.
Again, like the answer is always like, write in English what you would like to happen.
Okay.
Maybe my agentic workflow is like, every time Dependabot opens a PR on my repo, look at the PR and figure out what additional work needs to be done in order for like my repo not to break. Like, try building it, find any errors, fix them, look at the documentation. Under the hood, this is all running on top of GitHub Actions, but it's okay. Think of it as like if GitHub Actions and Copilot had a baby together, then like this is kind of what it is. Here we're looking at the top of the agentic workflow, right? It's a Markdown file. The agentic workflows compiler is responsible for taking this Markdown file and turning it into an actual actions workflow. This front matter is where we can specify things that the agent shouldn't be able to control. For example, we have this safe outputs block stanza in the front matter. And what I've said here is that this agentic workflow is allowed per run to create a pull request. And specifically, it's allowed to create one pull request. It's not allowed to create 5 pull requests, right? And it's also allowed to decide to do nothing. We're also constraining which tools this workflow is allowed to use. This workflow is allowed to use the web fetcher, and it's not just allowed to fetch any domain on the internet, right? Because this is enforced outside of the agentic loop. We're basically sticking a firewall between the agent and the internet.
Is this your edited file, or this was out the box?
I didn't actually write this. I just prompted Copilot with what I wanted it to get done. It wrote this.
Are you able to set up instructions to how those are written? Like if you use an agents.md file, or if you have any kind of Copilot instructions, does it respect that or not at all?
The answer is the same answer. You're always going to get this answer from me. It's like,
If
can you
can
give
say
the
in
instruction
English.
in English? Like you can say, like, pay attention to my agents.md.
Amazing. Okay. And so you just showed us your own personal use case, which I love, by the way. My website is also on Astro. So I will steal that from you and go and go set it up and forget it, because it's going to do its job. Yeah, Astro's fantastic. And so I know that there is a ton of workflows that the team has kind of put together for folks to experiment. Can you speak a little bit about those?
On the Agentic Workflows site, we have quick starts and how to create a workflow as quickly as possible. We also have about 18 bajillion examples, both like things that you can apply it to, and a whole series of blog posts that talk about different applications, cross repo workflows, infrastructure, testing and validation, things involving teamwork. There's a ton. This is a repo with a billion different examples, issue triage, CI doctor, anytime your CI workflows fall over, figure them out and fix them. Contribution guidelines. You can imagine applying this to open source, automating the kinds of work that open source maintainers have had to do. It's a lot of labor, but can we get the robots to do it instead? That would be great. Team culture, planning, things like that. This Dependabot stuff, which is very similar to what I just showed off. Accessibility review, documentation. Like, we have example workflows for all of these.
I love this, thinking about how easy it is now for all of us to create, but the maintenance is such a burden. The keeping up with the documentation, like I'm so guilty of that. I have projects that I might have updated the project, but the documentation looks exactly the same as when it shipped. Having an automated way to do that, that's a low lift, set it and forget it. Amazing.
I remember when I switched from my music to Spotify, I had these moments where like, oh, that song's really good, but I don't have it. And then I had to catch myself saying, well, wait a minute. I have all the music now. I think about that a lot now with agentic workflows. It's like my relationship with like what is possible to delegate has changed overnight. And now the hard part is actually thinking about like, wait a minute, that's something I could take off of my plate now, and realizing what those things are. If I have a request of folks who are listening to this is like, come kick the tires, use this. Like, we desperately want you to use this and bang on it for us to both shake out all the edge cases that we can find now, but also to find out like what are all the things that people want to do with this. Come by the Discord and show us in the Agentic Workflows channel.
Any agentic workflows that you see in the community come up with that kind of made you go like, that's cool?
Yeah, actually, one of our early testers was a gentleman named Frank, the maintainer of Home Assistant, which is one of the most popular and also busiest projects, open source projects on GitHub. They, as maintainers, face a lot of maintenance burden just dealing with like, Samsung's automatic robo vacuum integration broke. Is it Home Assistant's fault? Is it that Samsung changed something in the API? Like, I don't know. Like, those are all issues. And so what Frank used this for is he created an agentic workflow that looks at the stack traces of like exceptions thrown in the bug report, figures out if the stack trace terminates in Home Assistance code or not in Home Assistance code, because the workflow can look at the stack trace that's attached to the issue. And if the bug is in Home Assistant and is not in third-party code, then it tries to solve it. It tries to actually produce a pull request fixing that problem. This is one that like really stood out to me because it's like, that feels like the future right there.
I cannot wait to see what people come up with. I feel like this feels like one of those very momentous things that is going to really change the way that people approach it.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the agent is really good. What matters is, does it do stuff that is valuable to me? Does it give me more free time for more things that I care about?
So what's coming up on the pipeline for agentic workflows? What's the team working on?
Shaking out those edge cases, figuring out where the thing isn't serving the needs of people. So it's really just like everybody coming out of the woodwork and being like, I want to use it to do X, Y, and Z, but I can't because whatever is not like there. And then we fix that and enlarge the use cases. That's the big thing, coming up with those examples. I'd really love to see us use agentic workflows for the benefit of open source maintainers specifically.
Yes.
The cost of creating code has gone down significantly. That's a double-edged sword. On the upside, an open source maintainer now has agents that can help them write software and maintain the software that they've written. On the flip side, contributions from people, previously it could have been difficult. Now it can be a fire hose that's like really difficult to deal with. How do we use AI to even out those scales and tip them back towards like maintainers having more control over who gets to spend their time, right? Because that's always been a problem for maintainers.
Idan, thank you so much for coming by Checkout and showing us agentic workflows. I cannot wait to see what people try out. We'll be sure to share the Discord server link so that folks can join in. And I know you and the team are always in there talking to users and then like interacting and listening. So amazing.
I love it. It's my favorite place on the internet because like everybody's there with like positive maker energy and it's great.
Awesome. All right. Well, now you heard this. If you're a tinkerer, this is a place for you. Thank you, Idan.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Andrea.
And that was your first look at agentic workflows. If you want to start building your own, we dropped all the links in the description. The agentic workflow site, the examples repo, and the GitHub Next Discord, where Idan and team are hanging out and actually want to see what you build. The big takeaway from me here is if you can say it in English, you can turn it into a workflow. That's it. No YAML wizardry required. Go try it, break it, show us what you come up with. Like this video if it helped, and please subscribe so you don't miss the next GitHub checkout. Push those changes to main, and we'll catch you on the next release.